Live from the backstretch at historic Saratoga Racecourse, this is Saturdays at the Spa with Brian Nadeau. Saturdays at the Spa is brought to you by CapitalOTBBet.com, New York's premier wagering site. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today. The new Capital mobile app. Wager anywhere, anytime. Download it free from the iTunes Store or Google Play. And Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.
Good morning and welcome to Saturdays at the Spa. Brian Nadeau with you on Alabama Day, muggy morning in Saratoga Springs as we run the mile and a quarter. Alabama, Anthony Mormino and I were just on with the Handicappers Report, and we were talking, and I think Alabama, obviously you have the Travers, but I think Alabama weekend in Saratoga holds a lot of weight, and people just know it's the prelude to the Travers at a mile and a quarter next week. So we've got three guests that are all major players. Ian Wilkes is going to stop by at 10:40 with Champagne Anyone, and Larry Jones is going to be in the middle at 10:20. With Street Band. But right off the bat here, we're going to welcome in our first guest on Saturdays at the Spa. George Weaver joins me with Point of Honor, who is a major player. George, thanks for stopping by today on Alabama Day.
Thanks for having me.
5-2 on the morning line is not a bad place. You mentioned it's been a slow meet, but jokingly, but you said if you could get this one today, it would I would think would make everything okay.
Yeah, for sure. That would it would make things better. It has been slow with one win under our belt at this point. We're hoping to get a few more breaks, but This is a big race for us today. She's a great filly. I hope she gets a great trip and does well.
The barn's been live, though. I look here, 5 seconds and a couple thirds. So the horses have been running. It's tough to win up here. Everybody's aiming to do their thing up here.
Yeah, most of the horses that we lead over there, they try and do the best they can. I just when I need it to stay on the turf, it doesn't. When I need it to come off, it doesn't. You need things to break your way, to get a lot of wins up here. And you got to have conditions, and we just don't have right now. I don't feel like I got the right horse for the right races.
You mentioned off the turf, on the turf. Weather is an issue today. It could be raining a little bit later on. I look at your filly here. She hasn't run on an off track. Is there any trepidation? Is it a good, bad, indifferent if it does rain here, a little moisture in the track?
Well, we don't know.
Right.
And I would prefer not to experiment, but it's just one of those things that's out of our control. She's by Curlin. Most Curlins like the wet track, so for all I know, she'll love it. But, just as a horse trainer, I prefer not to throw throw something else in the mix.
Right. You mentioned we don't know, and a mile and a quarter is something we don't know about any of these fillies today. It's the unknown. It's a lot like the Kentucky Derby on the first Saturday in May. You don't know either. You've never done it, but I would think this was a race that you've had in mind for quite a while on a gal that looks like, at least on paper, in the way she runs, is going to get every inch of a mile and a quarter.
Oh, the mile and a quarter, I have no question about. She'll love it. She's bred to do it. She's a classic two-turn dirt horse, and she'd go further than that if you wanted to. She'd go a mile and a half if you asked her to. So I'm real happy with the distance. We've had this race in mind, for the last few months.
Sure. You got her started late as a 3-year-old. She wins on debut at Gulfstream, and then Tampa in the Suncoast, and was a commendable fourth, taking on the big gals in the Gulfstream Oaks for the first time. We're going to bring up footage of the Black-Eyed Susan down at Pimlico on Preakness weekend, where she got up, and I would kind of think this was her coming out party. Answered the bell in a major Grade 2 stakes race.
Yeah, the Black-Eyed Susan, it's a big race. A lot of prestige behind it. It was a nice field, and we're parked out there 5 wide, coming around the turn, and she kind of likes to be out there, but still, mathematically, she's running a lot further than some of the other horses.
She's got the white shadow roll on here, advancing on the outside. This is kind of her grinding them down, huh?
Yeah, she made a big move out there, and she hit the lead, and she's just all heart. She just tries, every race we run her in, she really, she tries. She gives everything she has. So it was a big moment for us in our stable, and very happy for the connections.
She's proven to be pretty precocious. As I mentioned, she won her first 2 starts. When she came into the barn, was it like, George, this filly can run, or is it surprising to you, or was this kind of what you thought?
No, to be honest with you, she never did anything wrong, but she never really impressed me on the stopwatch.
Okay.
She's a very good mover. She's efficient. But, I mean, for her, a half mile and 49 and change, that's what she does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she wasn't like Vacoma, like another horse in my barn. He did some freaky things in the morning.
Good 3-year-old this year.
He did some freaky things in the morning, and obviously he's a runner too, but essentially this filly's running numbers that are equivalent to him, and you just wouldn't know about what you see in the morning.
Right. We'll bring up next up. She was a really good second in the coaching club here earlier in the meet at 1 1/8, and Guarana, who's proven to be, here it is here, Guarana walking on the lead that day. You're last. It just 5 field with no pace. It is what it is. There's a lot happening in this race, though. You make your move again, and you're second. An inquiry in this race, and I know, you didn't really check up or anything. But talk a little bit about what happens in the stretch, because did your horse get intimidated a little bit?
She probably did. Aaron Wellman wanted to bring it to the attention of the stewards and at least have them look at it. Mm-hmm. The reality is that Guarana was clear of us, but Javier did have like a moment where he had to readjust and just lose a tad bit of momentum. We weren't going to win a race. You know what I mean? I don't think it was enough to do that, but still, Jose came out, and you're supposed to maintain a straight path, and Aaron wanted the stewards to look at it. So, I think it was right to look at it. So, but on the day we were second best. They slowed it down in the second quarter, and track was a little dead that day, and we just came up second best. Hopefully, we could turn the tables today.
Yeah, for sure. She's not in here, but Chad's got Dunbar Road. You've run against her. You were as I mentioned, a close fourth in the Gulfstream Oaks. 1 1/4. Like I said, I would think this levels the playing field a lot. And like you said, this is my trip today.
Right. Yeah, that might be the deciding factor here. I hope we get a little bit of pace, but even if we don't, the 1 1/4 is going to be a big plus for us. Yeah,
that was going to be my next question. There does look to be the 2 horses out of the Iowa Oaks, Lady Apple and Eulalie for Brad Cox and Steve Asmussen, look like they have some pace. They were 1-2 last time at Prairie Meadows. Do you look at this race on paper and seem to think there should be some speed in here?
I think so. Even last, in the Coaching Club Oaks, the first quarter was fine. The second quarter is what got us. He backed it down to 25 and change. If they just go, if they go 48 on the front end, that's enough that I think that we can run at. So the more pace, the better. But I think I see enough on paper to help us out.
And Javier knows this filly. Do you have a trip in mind, or she's going to break and put herself in mid-pack kind of a thing?
He knows her. I'm going to put all my faith in him. I mean, he knows her better than anybody. I'm sure he's going to break her out of there, get her comfortable, and turn up the backside and kind of watch what's going on in front of him.
I've said, Anthony Mormino and I were just on. We were talking about this race, and we just kind of saw it. The 1 1/8 race at Saratoga on the dirt. If you have a horse like yours, that's more of a stalker or a come from behind horse, you kind of wake up on the far turn and you're just left with too much to do. Me personally, I see the Alabama today. It's a little different scenario, especially going 1 1/4, where you should be strong at the end.
Oh, definitely, she should be strong. But I think I've always thought that 1 1/8 races here at speed is very dangerous. You know what I mean? It's not enough stretch to get there.
Do you've looked at this race? Obviously, you have a lot of respect for the connections. Do you look at it and say we've got to beat Dunbar Road? Anybody else in here that you're aware of? I mean, I know you ran against Champagne Anyone as well down at Gulfstream.
Yeah, she's a nice filly. I mean, I think Dunbar Road, just with her accomplishments, got to be the horse to beat. Right. But I think that, Todd's filly ran a sneaky good race behind us in the CCA Oaks, and it's a horse race. Some of these fillies are getting good at the right time, and you got to go over there and earn it.
I know you've had some nice 2-year-olds and over the years. Anybody, as I know the meet's winding down, but we've got a couple 3 weekends left. Anybody you're looking forward to running or getting back up here?
The horse that broke his maiden on the grass, that horse, Our Country, I think he's a really nice colt, so we're looking forward. If he's doing well, we're going to run him in with anticipation. Okay. So looking forward to that. A couple other babies, hopefully they'll come over there and show up, but just a little bit light right now. The ones that I have more the 2-year-olds that I think have more quality are just not ready right now. They're going to be fall horses
later in the year, which is not a bad thing as fall it brings on into the late fall and winter. Vacoma was that kind of horse last year and progressed over the winter at Gulfstream.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, all right. George Weaver, major player today with point of honor in the Alabama. George, as a special appreciation, I want to give you a $100 gift certificate for Purnell's. I know you've been there. I've seen you over there before.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah,
that's nice.
You know where that is. So best of luck today. Here we are, just blocks from the track, open 7 days a week. Great Italian food. You'll bring it home with you when you're done because proper servings over at Purnell's. I will be there next week. With
I had a steak the other night, out of this world.
It is great. A lot of fun over there. They love their racing as well. They've always been great supporters here at Capital OTB. George, thanks so much. Best of luck today,
appreciate
too.
It, man.
Really appreciate it. Point of honor in the Alabama today. It's going to bring us to our first break on Saturdays at the Spa. When we come back, Larry Jones is going to stop by, another major contender, Street Band in the 1.25 mile Alabama. Stay tuned.
Where's the best place to find your favorite teams, your favorite food, daily drink specials, and wagering on live horse racing? Legends Field Sports Bar, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. Get your game on day or night with 75 flat-screen TVs, tournament-style pool tables, a private banquet room, and live horse racing. So if someone asks you where's the best sports bar in the Capital Region, tell them Legends Field Sports Bar, inside the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany.
Birdstone is an outside front. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes. In front, but here comes High Chaparral. High Chaparral, the defending champ, to take it to foul ball. These two arch rivals head to head with Joe Hart bearing down on them. It's going to be a three-horse photo finish in the turn. Here's the wire. Photo finish.
Now it's a global series. The best racers from all over the world, the best trainers, the best jockeys.
You can get a free entry into the Breeders' Cup, and everybody wants to run in a Breeders' Cup race.
You get your travel expenses paid for the Breeders' Cup. Automatic berth takes a lot of pressure off.
If we're considering two different races and one was a win and you're in and one was not, that would be the tiebreaker.
It's probably the best thing that's happened to racing in the last 10 years.
Breeders' Cup Challenge, win, and you're in.
Welcome back to Saturdays at the Spa. Brian Nadeau with you. A special thanks to George Weaver for stopping by early on a Saturday morning. It's tough to get over here on Saturdays on a Grade 1 Stakes Day. We always appreciate our guests taking the time to do so. And George has got a major player in the Alabama. We're going to be joined in a few minutes by Larry Jones. It's great to see Larry back up in Saratoga. Larry's brought up some real tigers here over the years, and you've heard Anthony Mormino and myself talk about Hard Spun, one of our favorite racehorses of all time, and Larry won the King's Bishop, now the Allen Jerkins with Hard Spun, and he won in Alabama with Proud Spell, champion 3-year-old filly. So he'll be joining us shortly. And as we mentioned, it's Alabama Day here at Saratoga, 1.25 mile, one of the most historic, one of the most well-respected races, and one of the biggest weekends at Saratoga. We talked about it earlier. Obviously, there's the Travers, which is second to none in everybody's mind. But the Alabama, I still firmly believe, when it's Alabama weekend, people know it, and even the people that aren't doing this every day, like we are here. And the fans that are, right along with us at Capital OTB, people still know it's Alabama weekend. My parents, my mom knows it's Alabama weekend, and they're not racetrackers by any stretch of the imagination. So Alabama weekend still holds a lot of water here in Saratoga. No pun intended. That might be a theme today with rain in the forecast, and it's supposed to be here a little later in the day, maybe right around post time. We saw 60-70% chance, so that could throw another wrench into the equation. George Weaver said it perfectly. You know, it's just something as a horse trainer that you don't know, and you wouldn't like to deal with it. So hopefully the rain pushes back, and it doesn't impact an Alabama field that right now has 9 horses. It's got a decisive favorite with Dunbar Road and Chad Brown and Peter Brandt and Jose Ortiz. I talked about Guarana, who won the Coaching Club American Oaks for Chad. She's not here, but I don't want to say the B team because Dunbar Road herself is a Grade 2 winner in the Mother Goose, and she looked awesome doing it. But she's a heavy favorite today. But again, we're talking about 1.25 miles at Saratoga, so they all have to answer that question. And you know, she is a decisive favorite. I don't think she has to win, though, so we'll see how it all shakes out. There's a lot happening, and a lot of fillies that I think, and George Weaver, we talked about it with Point of Honor, was just up here, and you know, this is kind of her race that she's been pointing to at 1.25 miles, and you would think she's really going to get all the best of it at that trip today when she was forced to chase Guarana home last time. We're going to have Larry Jones on in a brief minute here, and Street Band looks so good winning the Indiana Oaks at Indiana Grand, and she did it impressively, and she did it pulling away. You would think she's another horse that would appreciate the 1.25 miles. Dunbar Road, we don't know. You know, she's the only time she's been 2 turns, as I mentioned, in the Gulfstream Park Oaks, is the only time she lost. Now, she was a big second that day, facing winners for the first time, fresh off a maiden win on debut. But, you know, she didn't win that day. And like I said, it's the only time she's lost. So she's got to answer the bell today, too, at a short price. I'm going to have Ian Wilkes on it at 10:40 a little bit later on. And he's got Champagne Anyone, the only horse to beat Dunbar Road. And she was forced to do the dirty work in the CCA last time when Guarana was walking on the lead, and she kind of paid the price late. So I think she trips out a little bit better today. So again, it's 1.25 miles. It's a little bit of an unknown. 9 of them are going to go to the post at around 5:59 in the PM. We'll see how it all shakes out. So we're going to take a quick break here on Saturdays at the Spa. We're going to bring up Larry Jones when we come back. Stay tuned.
No matter where in the world you are, the excitement of wagering on horse racing is just a click away. You'll get live streaming, past performances, race replays, our virtual tote board, analysis and selections from professional handicappers, a simple, safe, and secure wagering platform, and best of all, you get track prices. CapitalOTBBet.com. Bet any place, anytime at CapitalOTBBet.com. And be sure to download our new mobile app from the iTunes Store or Google Play.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome back to Saturdays at the Spa. Brian Nadeau with you. Alabama weekend, as I mentioned, here at Saratoga, the big race, 1.25 miles, 3-year-old fillies. We were fortunate enough to have George Weaver stop by to kick off the show, and he's got a major contender in Point of Honor, and I'm thrilled to be joined by Larry Jones now. It's always good to see Larry in Saratoga. He brings in Street Band today, another major player, filly on the improve as we bring in the Alabama.
Well, she seems to be, and that's kind of the family, the way it goes. They get better with age, and we've kind of been waiting for her to come around, and she appears to be.
We talked off the set about what we're is going to go on here, and we're going to bring up a couple videos of Street Band. But before we do that, first and foremost, we're going to bring up a video that I'm pretty sure is going to put a big smile on your face. You know how to win the Alabama. Proud Spell did it in 2008, champion 3-year-old filly. We're going to show video of her. You've brought some real nice horses up. Hard Spun comes to mind in a thrilling King's Bishop, now the Allen Jerkins. Here's a champion doing her thing in the 1 1/4 Alabama.
We were very determined that day because Godolphin had both of these fillies that's running beside her. And we knew that one was going to be a rabbit, the other one was going to be set up to be a closer. So I told Gabriel, be careful, don't chase the rabbit too hard that you can't fight off Music Note. And he was able to. So it was to handle the double-edged sword. We were very, very proud of.
Kentucky Oaks winner as well, and she just seeing that stretch run. You've brought some really good horses up here over the years, and Hard Spun comes to mind, and then you see that stretch run. Tenacious horses as well. She was not letting Music Note, a darn nice filly, get by.
Yeah, no, she was very determined, very gutsy filly, and it's the very first crop of the Proud Citizens.
Yep.
So, and he proved to be a very useful sire to us and a very good to us. So no, that is great to see once again.
Proud Citizen second in the Kentucky Derby for Wayne Lucas. You know how to win in Alabama. Does it take a special filly to win? I mean, 1 1/4. It's an unknown. For all of these, it's a lot like the Kentucky Derby on the first Saturday in May. Talk a little bit about preparing a 3-year-old filly to do something they've never done before at 1 1/4.
Well, a lot of people think we were practicing in the Kentucky Oaks because we got the longest trip of anybody in the Kentucky Oaks according to Trackers. So we've tried the 1 1/4. We can't beat the horses when they're running 1 1/8 though. No, putting that aside, this filly here, she comes with the pedigree, the Street Cry himself. Needless to say, the sire of Zenyatta, Street Sense, the 1 1/4 work from there. Also, the Minstrel was the second mare, another route influence. And he comes out of the Rokeby stable line on the Istan. Horses that could get the route of ground. So pedigree says we should do it. She acts like she should do it.
Right.
If we'll get her to settle, if she will just relax and get the first part, we should be good.
It almost sounds... Has that been an issue, getting her to settle a little bit?
That has been the issue, and that is how Sophie actually got her, using the European style on her.
Sophie Doyle.
Yep, and that is the way that Florent Giroux got I'm a Chatterbox, is because both these horses, Eager and their European styles, worked really well. So Sophie's been a big influence on getting this horse to relax and settle and go.
We've got a couple videos to bring up. The first one is the Fairgrounds Oaks, a decisive win. Really her coming out party, would you say? I mean, was she building up to a race like this? We see it here.
Definitely, yeah. She and she did. She settled so much better in this race than she did for the Rachel Alexander, and but no, this was a big day for her.
And again, we'll show the Indiana Oaks shortly, but again, drawing off late. I mean, she seems to have hinting at like you mentioned, this is well within her scope.
Absolutely, and we feel like the extra distance is not going to be her biggest issue today.
You ran in the Kentucky Oaks, a race you've had a lot of success in. Didn't really go according to plan. The trip didn't really work out that day.
No, and one thing about Sophie, and as I said, the European style, is they really concentrate on saving ground. And as you can well tell, as I said, according to Trackers, we had the widest trip of anybody.
Right.
So we actually just had a very bad trip, bad day that day.
To her credit, though, I mean, they don't always come back off decisive losses like that. But we'll show it here. The Indiana Oaks. I watched this race a few times. I was very impressed with her tractability. You're going to see her here coming up, sifting kind of through runners, threading her way through. Seems like a very versatile filly as well.
She did, and this was the best race to date, not only on numbers, just mentality-wise. She settled nicely. When she saw daylight here, then she went ahead and went for it. This was definitely the best race we've had to date. She did everything, just push button, and hopefully once again today could work this way.
Yeah, and if like we talked, the Oaks didn't really work out according to plan, but if you draw a line through that, she's really coming into the Alabama off two really serious efforts here. You see it here as she's drawing away late in a really comprehensive performance. Do you have, you mentioned hopefully Sophie can get her to settle a little bit. Do you have a trip in mind today? You look at this race on paper. I mean, Dunbar Road is going to take some beating, certainly.
She is.
Point of honor. We just had George Weaver on. He's bringing a nice filly over here. Do you handicap the race on paper?
Well,
do you look at
I do, and see what kind of trip we could possibly get. But there is some speed to the inside of us with Lady Apple. She's quite capable, and she was ahead of us in the Oaks, so I figure she'll be tuck in behind the bull along with Eulalie out on the outside of Brad Cox. She's going to show some speed. And hopefully we can get a trip setting in right behind them and make sure Eulalie doesn't get away from us early. Right. I would really hate to see her on a lone lead and being uncontested.
Yeah, you see these dirt races at Saratoga. You don't want to lose contact with the field. I mean, you've brought a lot of horses up here over the years. You want to be close because you can hit that far turn and wake up with too much to do.
Absolutely, and we were able to work those trips out with the Proud Spell. Whenever Havre de Grace won the Woodward, we were tracking and we were right there when we turned for home. She took over the lead. So that's the kind of trip you need to get here, I think. It's what we would like to do. Hopefully it will happen.
This filly here, it took her a while to get to this level. When she first got to your barn, did you think we'd be sitting here talking about the Alabama? What was she like as a young horse?
Well, needless to say, we bred her, we raised her, and we'd had 5 siblings to her ahead of her.
Yeah.
So being here at this level, I'm not saying surprising. It's what we bred her to do.
Sure. Your wife is involved too.
Yeah. But her other siblings did not ever reach this. So we always expect the worst, hope for the best. And but this filly has really matured and done well.
Yeah, it looks like did she kind of hit her stride? She logged a lot of miles at the fairgrounds over the winter, huh?
She has. We raced her several times, but it was still a learning process with her. And like I said, that's where her and Sophie united, and we saw that it was working. So we just have kept that team together, and it's worked well.
When you have a horse like this that appears to be maybe a little headstrong, what can you do as a trainer to try to make her mind her manners in the afternoon?
Well, as you can tell, after the Kentucky Oaks, we didn't work her a lot. We spaced her out about every other week instead of every week. Just do a lot of galloping, the long gallops, and less speed work. And of course we've worked her a couple of times since the Indiana Oaks, and they've both been very sharp. So we're still not trying to put a lot of speed in her to get her to relax. But Sophie actually said her last work it was the most relaxed she had ever been. So she's learning to carry that cruising speed now without getting carried away with it. So hopefully it's what we need.
It certainly looks like those works at Churchill. She looks like she is a good workhorse. So
she's coming right along.
Do you still gallop a lot of your horses?
I do, and actually I was on her yesterday. First time I'd galloped her since the day before she broke her maiden.
Okay, wow.
So she won the last time I rode her. She won the next day. So I'm hoping yesterday worked the same way that she wins today.
Yeah. It's a step up today, the Alabama. She certainly looks like she's coming in to this race. Is she tipping her hand that you think she can deliver another peak effort?
I think she can. As you can well tell, she's a bounce back horse, and I never can seem to get her out of that rhythm, except maybe giving her a little more time now between these races. Hopefully that's going to be the key. But she's very sharp. She was sharp yesterday. We paddock schooled, we gate schooled. She handled everything well. So hopefully we've crossed our T's, we've dotted our I's, and got it so where she's going to behave and do well today.
And you said Sophie really looks like she's, I don't want to call her the missing link, but since they've gotten together,
they have meshed very well.
We talked about Proud Spell and Hard Spun. You took a little time off from the game. It's good to have you back. I mean, did you just miss it so much that you had to?
Well, Mr. Porter kind of had a whole lot of me coming back. That's when he had offered me Havre de Grace and Joyful Victory. He had offered me some really nice horses to come back, and so we did. And it's been very good since we've been back.
Havre de Grace won the Woodward up here, beating males en route to a Horse of the Year campaign.
Horse of the Year.
So Larry Jones has trained a lot of nice horses over the years. We talked about. We've got an extra minute or two. I want to just talk about Hard Spun. Anthony Mormino and I, we do the Handicappers Report before this show. and we do it every Thursday and Saturday, and I'll be darned if we don't somehow find a way to mention Hard Spun. One of the most versatile racehorses to come down the pike in many years. Was almost unfortunate that he was born in the same year as Street Sense. One of the best seconds you'll ever see in the Kentucky Derby.
Yes, we was very, very proud of him. And don't think I didn't get excited being a Kentucky boy when we turned for home.
Yeah.
And he kicked again and opened up, and how Calvin got through on the rail. But anyway, it was very good. And, the top 3 finishers being Street Sense, Hard Spun, and Curlin.
Yeah,
and
that was a crop.
Those 3 they were 1, 2, 3 in most every race they were ever in together. They always pretty well dominated in some form or fashion.
Yeah, and great sires too.
They've all 3 succeeded at the sire level, and I know Hard Spun had a good 2-year-old up here the other day. So no, still a lot of good things coming out of him, and it looks like I hope I've got a good 2-year-old by Hard Spun this time.
Do you have a name? We always like to get some names.
Her name is Spun Beauty.
Okay, Spun Beauty. So there we go. I remember I was writing for the Saratoga Special at the time. And you cut back Hard Spun in what is now the Allen Jerkins. It was the King's Bishop back then, and boy, he gutted it out over First Defense. First grade 1 win, I think, for him. You didn't want to chase Street Sense around in the Travers.
Yeah, right.
I remember running up the far turn to get a word with you back at the barn, and I think it was like 98 degrees that day when that was an awesome performance against another horse that's proven to be a really nice sire.
Really was, and they cut out amazing first half-mile fractions. If I'm not mistaken, it was 43 and some change, and then he held on and actually was drawing off again at the final jumps. What a nice horse he was, and if we had probably pointed him at mile races, he could have been a name that we speak about a lot.
Right. When I think of Hard Spun, he was unfortunate that he ran against Street Sense in the Derby at 1.25 miles. I mean, if there was a mile in an 8th race, I mean, he was the horse. I think he went 46 and change to the half mile in that Kentucky Derby.
He did, absolutely.
You said he opened up off the far turn. Did he come in off the polytrack race at Turf Road?
Had been his last race. The Lanes End Spiral. Yes.
Yeah, he was all race horse, and then the next year you followed it up. With Proud Spell, another champion for the Governors.
It was,
right, Mr.
Governor
Jones?
Yeah.
So Larry Jones has brought a lot of nice, classy horses to Saratoga over the years. Street Band later today in the Alabama looks to continue that trend. It's got to be good to be back in Saratoga with in a big race.
It really is. It's nice to have horses that will bring you to Saratoga. I'll tell you.
What is summer like for you? How many are in the barn now? And
we actually have there's 22 at Churchill Downs, and there is 12 at Ellis Park.
At Ellis,
you got 34 horses.
So you're keeping busy in Kentucky, and then Keeneland's right around the corner.
It is.
All right. Larry, we've got a gift certificate here for you for Jacob and Anthony's, right in town, $100 gift certificate. Hopefully, maybe you can celebrate right here at 38 High Rock, right in town. Great dinner, get some drinks there. Hopefully, maybe you can celebrate an Alabama win tonight. It's great to see you up here. I appreciate you. I can't say this enough, taking the time to stop over on what I know is a busy Saturday morning.
Thank you.
Larry, best of luck in the
so
Alabama. I
much.
appreciate it. Larry Jones, Street Band in the Alabama a little later today. As I look outside, the weather looks all right today. As of right now, maybe rain in the area, but hopefully it'll hold off. Post time right around 5:59 for the Alabama. So George Weaver led it off. Larry Jones kind enough to take a minute here. Ian Wilkes is going to be back with us when we come back from our third break here on Saturdays at the Spa. Champaign, anyone, I think another major contender in the Alabama. Stay tuned.
I got it. Watch me. I got it. Yeah.
I love the Breeders' Cup winning your in series.
To win one of these challenge series is a way that we kind of map out our schedule throughout the year with our horses.
If you win one of the challenge races, you have a very good horse.
The King George, which is our winning in race, provides the top middle distance horse in Europe. We saw Highland Real running both races.
We know when we show up at the Breeders' Cup, we've got the world to beat, not just everybody in the United States. Breeders' Cup Challenge, win, and you're in.
Welcome back to Saturdays at the Spa. Brian Nadeau with you. A special thanks. As I said, George Weaver kicked it off right at the top of the hour with Point of Honor. It's Alabama Day here at Saratoga. The 3-year-old filly's going 1.25 miles. It's the sister race to next week's Travers, and one of the most historic races we have up here at the Spa, one of the biggest weekends. So George stopped by with Point of Honor. I think it's a major contender. Great to see Larry Jones back up in Saratoga too, with a real horse in Street Band. And Larry's brought some real tigers up here over the years. I mentioned Hard Spawn. Anthony Mormino and I love to talk Hard Spawn. He brought up Proud Spell to win this race 11 years ago, and he mentioned one I had forgot about, Havre de Grace as well, to win the Woodward, beating the boys in the Woodward en route to a Horse of the Year campaign. And so he's got Street Band today, who's a major player in the Alabama, and I'm happy to be joined again. Ian Wilkes stopped by last year, and he's going to stop by right now. Champagne Anyone, who I think is a major contender in the Alabama as well.
Yeah, we have to. We got a spot in the gate. We could have left Larry back at Ellis. That would have been fine with me.
It sounded like Larry was leaving the set. You guys have a good rapport together? He's a good guy.
Oh, yeah, he's good. Larry's great. He's a good horseman. He's a lot of fun. Mm-hmm.
Champagne Anyone, the kind of the elephant in the room of the Alabama is 1.25 miles. You don't know until you lead them over there. You have developed a lot of horses over the years, distance, patience. Do you see 1.25 miles with Champagne Anyone? Because I think a lot of these gals are going to struggle with 1.25 miles. Do you feel like it helps level the playing field a little bit at 1.25 miles?
I think so. I think my filly's fine. I don't think the distance will be an issue today. My filly's doing good, and I'm very pleased with her.
She's by Street Sense with Ghost Zapper on the bottom of her pedigree. That's both 1.25 miles winners for sure. We're going to first bring up video footage of the Gulfstream Park Oaks and getting her back to 2 turns this winter at Florida. We're going to see it here. Was this really, Ian, where she was able to really kind of flex her muscles a little bit?
Yeah, this filly is just starting to, took some racing to really get her to where I wanted her, and. I ran her 2 sprints, and then we stretched her out 2 turns, and I put the blinkers on her. And this filly really tracked into the race really nice without being asked to, without being forced to. And she ran a game race that day because, it's a pretty good filly that's chasing the Dunbar Road and Point of Honor. There's some nice horses. There's good form out of this.
This is a major race, and Dunbar Road's we're going to look up at the board later this afternoon, and Dunbar Road's going to be a heavy favorite, and it's almost kind of like, oh yeah, we beat this horse, and you're the only filly to cross the line ahead of Dunbar Road. I mean, this is a major performance here.
Yeah, it is. And all fairness to Dunbar Road, she only had the 1 race before that. So let's be careful how we evaluate that. But still, I do think my filly's a very honest filly, very good filly.
Next up, you're supposed to go to the Kentucky Oaks. You were a legitimate 8-1 in that race. We're going to show the whole race. Didn't necessarily go according to plan, huh? You had a heck of a trip here.
Yeah, it wasn't the best trip. We broke good from here. We're not in a bad position, but then the 2 horses on the outside, they're running off. We get checked there, and get
You're the
shuffled.
10 here, yeah.
Yeah, and we're still not in a bad position because we're right behind Wayne Catalano's filly. We're in a good position there, not too far out of it. But then when you come a little bit further, we still get further and further back. That's Kenny's horse come across in front of us there and put us back to
recruiting.
Restless Rider.
Restless Rider. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. And so really we're back, where we don't need to be.
Well, and on a day when speed was great at Churchill Downs that day, here's the, we know how good now Serengeti Empress is, and she ran hard to do it, but I mean, she's loose on the lead doing her thing.
Yeah. And see where we were originally, where Wayne's filly is the 9. If we were where the 4 was following her, then we're in a better position. We're 5 lengths better in the race. But that's racing. That's part of the trips. You've got to figure out. You've got to figure them trips out. And I like how my filly finished this race off.
To her credit, she could have easily thrown in the towel, but she passes a lot of horses here. And like I said, a trip that was far from ideal. I really think she showed a lot of toughness in this spot.
Yeah, and she's running hard here at the finish, and I was very proud of her. But you only get a chance to win one Kentucky Oaks.
You give her a little time off that race, and then we come up here to the coaching club. You had to deal with another Chad Brown, really special horse in Guarana, who was awesome winning the Acorn, and she stretched out. You guys, we're going to show this race here in the coaching club, and you tired a little bit to 4th again. You guys were in a tough spot here, kind of doing the dirty work a little bit, chasing a 1-5 shot that's loose on the lead.
Yeah, I'm okay with this. Because she was a little fresh. I just didn't do a good enough job with this filly. I just didn't have it prepared the way I wanted, and probably need the race. But this race where she made a move like this is little things that add up. She made a move to win the race. She cruised up to Chad's filly, but then my filly come up just a little leg weary. I just didn't have it tight enough. I got the race into her now. Come back, and she's had a couple of really solid works. Just the right kind of works. And the good thing about this, she didn't finish. She didn't pin her ears, or she didn't quit hitting the ground good. She was hitting the ground really good. Still, we just come up a little short. And I don't take the blame for that race.
It sounds like, hearing you talk now, that you got a lot out of that race. I would think it.
Yeah, definitely. You have to. I feel much better. The filly has thrived since then. She's put weight on, and I'm able to train her a lot harder now.
3 works since then, and the last one really kind of jumps off the page. The Bullet.
Yeah. I wanted to see her finish. I wanted because she'd done too well.
Okay.
If I didn't get that kind of work, I was going to be short again.
Okay.
And so I needed that. I need to tighten the screws a little bit. This is my race.
Yep.
Today, it's up to the filly now. If I get beat, I get beat.
Right.
No excuses today.
Do you envision? Do you have a trip in mind? It looks like, at least on paper, and obviously they open the gates and everything goes out the window sometimes. But it looks on paper, at least, like there's some legitimate speed with the 2 fillies, Eulalie and Lady Apple, coming out of the Iowa Oaks. I mean, as a trainer, do you handicap the race? You look at it and envision a trip?
Well, you can do that. You can do that, but then, okay, let's go back to the Oaks. Look at all the speed in the Oaks, and the one horse went.
Sure.
No one went with him. So you have to, when you put a rider up, you've got to trust the rider. If you don't trust the rider, you're legging up the wrong guy.
Right.
So I'm legging Chris up. I'm very confident in him. I'm going to let him play the break and ride the filly, and you have to judge the pace. He'll have to judge to see where he wants to be, what he wants to do, and that's the key.
And Chris is, he's rode her every time, so she looks like she's proven to be very versatile in her races. She can do what she did in the coaching club, or we saw it at Gulfstream, but she's also had success laying in the middle of the pack too.
Yeah, and that's why we don't have to go in with a pre-notion of being in a certain place in the race. She can be anywhere.
Just looking at her form, I mean, she was relatively precocious as a 2-year-old. When she got to your barn, I asked Larry Jones the same thing with Street Band, and he told me it took her a little time to get going. When you got this filly in your barn, what was she like? Did you envision that you'd be sitting here talking about the Alabama? I mean,
well, when you first get them,
yeah,
they're all unbeaten,
right?
Okay, so they're all good. But as you got to train her, she's a big filly, and once she fills out to this frame, she's going to be a really, really good filly. She's only just starting to come now.
Okay.
So I'm going to see the best of this filly as we go forward. But to do what she did as a young horse was a really good effort.
Do you change up anything getting a horse? I mean, we're talking about 1.25 miles. It's a different kind of beast altogether. Do you do anything as a trainer? Do you change anything up because this is something all these gals? It's a lot like the Kentucky Derby. They've never experienced this at 1.25 miles. Is anything you do in the mornings or?
No, I'm in strong belief that they'll get the 1.25 miles or they won't.
Right.
But the key is they have to relax in the running. Whether they lay second, they have to relax. If they lay third, fourth, fifth,
right,
they have to relax.
It looks like, at least on paper, a competitive field where, we're going to have, as I mentioned, Dunbar Road is going to be a favorite. It's Chad Brown, it's Peter Brand. It is what it is. But as I mentioned, you're the only horse to beat her, and it was the only time she went 2 turns, and you got the better of her. I mean, do you bring her over with a lot of confidence today?
I do. I feel good.
Yeah.
I feel very good in my horse. Like I said, if I get beat, I get beat. I'll get beat by a better horse today. But I know in my heart that my filly's ready and she's going to run a big race.
We will completely switch gears and we will talk about another really nice filly in your barn. And our friends with West Point Thoroughbreds are part of Originator. We're going to show her win up here earlier at the meet. Looks like she's a filly with a really nice future turf sprinting for you.
Yeah, she's come back off an injury here, off a long
first
layoff.
Start off a long layoff, right?
Yeah. Very good. I thought we could improve. Well, we will improve off this race, and the filly's done extremely well. Just trying to get a race to go for her. So hopefully it'll go soon.
What is there a race? You said they haven't filled. Is there a race for her up here before the meet ends?
2 other than.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. She worked yesterday morning, I believe.
Yeah.
How'd she come out of that?
Good, no problem. Jogged this morning. She jogged good. Happy with herself.
You had to be pleased. You mentioned a little injury, and to see her fire that big of a shot off the long layoff.
Yeah. It's always good to get them back. It's always great, The filly's got some talent. She's been so honest, from day one. But I think she's really going to just be a sprinter, anywhere 5.5 to 6.5 furlongs.
And watching that race there, you've been up here. Horses aren't winning turf sprints that way either. No. So that was pretty impressive for her, not only off the long layoff, but to do it kind of against the grain of the course a little bit too.
Yeah, speed's been pretty genuine there, but she's nice, filly. It helps when they can run.
Another one I wanted to hit on, you're going to debut a horse for Mrs. Whitney, who passed away, but a homebred. A little bit earlier on the card, Feisty Bird, a big pedigree with Feisty Bird. Talk a little bit about him. Son of Curlin, out of the mare that is half the Birdstone and Birdtown.
Yeah. Nice horse. His gait manners aren't quite as good as you'd like to see yet. He's not. It's a question whether how fast he will break.
Right.
He's ready to break and ready to run, but he's not the fastest out of there, and it may be a detriment against him today, but he can run. The horse is okay.
And you're not a guy that, I don't want to say you're not trying to win today at Saratoga, but that's not part of the Ian Wilkes playbook.
Yeah. If he's good enough and he wins, I know next race he's going to improve.
Look out.
That's what I'm looking at. If I put everything into winning today, how can I get better next start? That's the way I look at it. If he's good enough and he wins, we'll get better.
And is that something? Working with Carl Nafsker over the years and things like that, another very patient guy. Is that just something that you're trying to develop horses. You're trying to develop horses to run today in the Alabama, frankly.
Yeah, well, that's it. I train for a lot of breeders, so my percentage is never going to be great, never going to be off the charts, because I'm developing horses, trying to get that black tie, get that asset value for the owner, just trying to do that. And these homebreds, they come in all, you're not hand picking them out, you take them, and there's a lot of nice horses in there, and you're trying to develop them. That's the whole key to it.
And I had Nick Cito on a couple weeks ago to talk about Mrs. Whitney, and you've had some nice horses with her over the years. How did that relationship started? Because I know Nick, Nick trained Birdstone and Birdtown, and a little bit later on, I think you started getting. How did that develop?
I was a friend I worked with, Kim Nelson, who was working in the office with John and Mary Lou, and I think that's where the connection come, and I happened to get a few horses and build got a good friendship with John. Even though he's a client, I still class him as a friend.
Right.
And with Mary Lou, if I retired tomorrow and my resume said I trained for Mary Lou, what more? What more? It's a tremendous, honor to be associated with the legacy she's leaving. And that's where it got started, is through there, and it's just grown a little, and now they've got some horses with Norm Cassie.
Right, I've seen that.
So which is good.
Nick sat up here and just seemed to glow about the person that she was. I mean, can you talk a little bit about that, and how fortunate you were to have a relationship with her?
There's no words can explain it. You could go on and on. It's priceless.
Right.
It's an honor. It's priceless. But there's no words to explain it. It's hard to explain. How you feel about it.
Yeah. Yeah, racing certainly lost a legend. I was, you read these things after the fact almost, but all she did outside of racing, obviously, and Saratoga SPAC, I was even unaware of that. So she just had such a great body of work over her career.
Yeah, and it was never about her. Yeah, it was it's always the horse comes first.
Yeah.
Everything was about the horse. It evolved around the horse, and then the town. She loved Saratoga.
Yeah, she loved Saratoga. It's just hearing you say about the horse. That's what I think of when I see you in the program. I mean that's you, kind of progression and patience.
Yeah, well, I'm no good. I've been through that. I've been in Australia. I've trained horses in Australia that I could have got off and ran faster than. They just make you look bad.
Well, Ian, we've got a $100 gift certificate for Jacob and Anthony's for stopping by. I really appreciate it. I think Champagne Anyone's going to make the whole team look pretty good today in the Alabama a little bit later on. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know how busy it is on a Grade 1 Saturday at Saratoga, so thanks a lot. Best of luck in the Alabama. Best of luck with Feisty Bird, Originator, and on down the line for the rest of the meet.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it.
Ian Wilkes wraps it up here on Saturdays at the Spa. Again, we had George Weaver kick it off. It's all Alabama all the time here. George Weaver, and then Larry Jones. It's great to see Larry back in Saratoga with a top contender, and Ian as well. It's always good to have him stop by. So it'll bring us to one more quick break here on Saturdays at the Spa. When we come back, we'll wrap it up on Alabama Day. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Saturdays at the Spa. Brian Nadeau with you. It's Alabama Day here at Saratoga. The weather right now looking to cooperate on what's a phenomenal. The Alabama's great today. I'll tell you what, from a handicapping perspective, I mean, we have a heavy favorite in Dunbar Road. I don't think she has to win by any stretch of the imagination. Anthony Mormino and I talked about it on the Handicappers Report, and we had George Weaver. Again, thanks so much to my three guests who were great today. George Weaver, Larry Jones, one of the good guys, and certainly Ian Wilkes, just wrapping it up with Champagne Anyone, who I like today, who I think is in a good spot today. And I'll tell you what, everybody likes their horse. I get that, but boy, Ian Wilkes is glowing today about her chances coming in to the 1.25 mile Alabama. So a lot of thanks for those three guys to stop by on what is a Saturday morning at Saratoga on a grade 1 day, and it's easier said than done. And we really appreciate everyone taking the time to get over here, and my producer Teresa Gennaro as well for grabbing those three guys. It's a big help, and great to see them over here, and so generous with their time. So Alabama Day, as I mentioned, we're a week removed from the Travers. It's a weekend that I just think everybody, there's a buzz in Saratoga, no doubt. I hope the weather holds off. I hope see you up here today for the Alabama right around 6 o'clock. 9 3-year-old fillies going to post in one of the most historic races we have here at Saratoga. So that is going to wrap up Saturdays at the Spa. I will see you Thursday. Best of luck here on Alabama Day.
You've been watching Saturdays at the Spa with Brian Nadeau. Saturdays at the Spa has been brought to you by CapitalOTBBet.com, New York's premier wagering site. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today. The new Capital mobile app. Wager anywhere, anytime. Download it free from the iTunes Store or Google Play. And Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.